Where's the farthest you've been on your cars? You've been just around Midwest? You taking them on any long trips?
Usually mine in Michigan.
Tail
Usually it was
Tail of the
in.
Dragon. We
Yeah,
went
Well,
we
to.
you
did do
did.
Yeah,
that.
we did Tail of the
And you didn't
Dragon.
crash.
Yep.
Didn't
Nope.
leave a
Didn't
piece of
crash.
plastic on a tree.
No. Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope. We survived it.
Did you just go solo or did you go with a group?
No, we had a group of us that went.
Oh, really?
There was 4 or 5 of us that rented a cabin, and we went down to Gatlinburg and
That's always been on my
cruised
list.
around. That was fun.
Good time.
Got
That
really
was
wet.
great.
Yeah. Oh, was it raining the whole time?
No, just
okay.
one day.
No,
Okay.
the first day we got there, we went out to dinner, and we came out from the restaurant. We looked up into the sky, and it was black. And by the time we got about 50 feet from the parking lot, it downpoured, and you couldn't see the front of the car hardly.
Did you have a top?
No top, no top,
Nope.
no wipers on the car currently.
So you just keep driving.
You just drive,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what you do.
Rain X on the window. What can you do?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
caught in the rain. You just drive. You shrug your shoulders when people are looking at you, and you laugh with them.
Hold on, wait a minute. And you're supposed to say, like, don't count the numbers. All right, guys, Dave Smith, and this is the Fact 5 podcast, Solid Car Guys, and I am really privileged to have 2 guests here who are very solid car guys, not just instructors and master teachers at the Factor 5 3-day build school, but also Factor 5 owners, guys who built their own cars and went through the war, and they can teach you how to go through the war and build your own car. So Jim and Scott, let me start with you, Jim. You know, the background of the build school, 25, 30 years ago, customers always ask the same questions. How difficult is the car to build, and how does it drive? And so on the how does it drive side, we sponsored the Bond Rod School. We gave them 3 challenge cars. We had an arrive and drive program, and it was awesome until the Bond Rod School went from Ford to GM, and GM didn't want the Cobras, and they got kicked out. And so that program of the arrive and drive really was kind of stillborn, and it was unfortunate. But as much as that program didn't succeed, the Fact 5 build school, the 3-day build school, really did take off, and you've been a principal with it ever since. So tell us about, what is it? And it started at Mott School, which has a huge automotive history. Tell us all about Mott, the 3-day build school, and kind of your involvement in it and what you're doing.
So, the build school started, we started in 99, really first classes took off in 2000. And it was designed as a capstone course for our automotive program. So you could take the automotive classes, do your suspension, do your engine. And then we had auto body classes at the time. You could do that part of it. And then the class was designed to be the assembly portion. And it quickly became people coming from all over just to take it as a non-credit. And
You say
just-
quickly became, it's 25 years.
Yeah.
It's a quarter century. You've been there since the beginning.
Yes.
So, how many people go through the course? Is it a monthly course, a weekly course, a year, annual?
We're running about 20 classes a year right now.
20 classes a year.
And 15 students per class. So you got to do the math. I'm not sure our total numbers, but
So all these guys are going to build a Fact 5 Cobra or a Hot Rod.
Yeah.
And you do it in 3 days.
3 days. We start on Friday with a bare chassis, kind of just how it comes out of the box. And on Sunday, it's take it out for a little test drive in the parking lot.
That's awesome. I love it when a plan, succeeds. And if you're thinking, how many students? Scott, you were doing math yesterday on students who've gone through the class in 24 and a half years. And where are you guys at?
We figured 15 students a class, about 20 classes a year. We've had most likely 3,500 3,900 students.
Almost 4,000 on the high end.
Yeah, on the high end.
4,000 people.
4,000.
And we built 16,000 cars. And I can tell you, I would imagine more than half the people that take this school will end up building a Factory 5 of their own. And that's a credit to your teaching. But Jim, what's the difference between the early days and now? And how has the course changed? Because I just went to the new Mott, the new headquarters, because it used to be in that building in Howell, Michigan.
Yeah.
When did that change? And that's a huge change to the school.
Yeah, so that changed in I gotta think about the year now. I think about 21 or so is when we moved it back on main campus. We had some lab space that was available, so we were able to bring it back on the main campus. So it's in our RTC building, our newer building on campus, and we've got our own lab space now. It was always a shared space before. So
let me interrupt you. I don't know if you remember, but we did Two Guys Garage with Willie B and Kevin Bird.
Mm-hmm.
And they were at the build school at the old Howell headquarters. Yeah. That's on our website right now. So if someone's watching our website, they're not seeing the build school the way it is. It is state of the art. I mean, you guys got that beautiful car showroom in the front. It's your tech center. I mean,
Hmm.
that is just. I went to one of the first classes. I was blown away. And you guys had catered lunch and everything, but what's the difference in equipment? I mean, it's a lot more space for sure.
Yeah, we have a lot more space, and the nice part is everything's right there. So even if a student is not doing the model that we're doing in that particular class, the other car is sitting there, and so they can check it out and kind of
The MTech Center,
decide.
you share space. So the MTech Center, you had to put your stuff behind a cage, and then every month or so you take it out for the class. This one is a set up, dedicated classroom, right? The whole
Yes,
lab.
yeah, the lab is dedicated to us, so we close the door and we open it up for the class, so we can have things kind of spread out a little bit more. And
If you went from, and it's always Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is it
yes,
three? So if you went from Friday morning, walk me through the Friday to Sunday morning, because the Sunday you drive the car, and you start with bare frame, and you're driving the car on the third day.
yeah. So Friday usually we have the car to a roller, so it's got all the suspension on it and everything, and then Saturday is usually getting the drivetrain in, getting it wired, making the thing actually run. So it's like go kart stage by the end of Saturday, and then Sunday, of course, that's all the pretty stuff, and
So mount the body.
mount the body and
Yeah.
fit all the doors and trunk and everything else.
So who drives it?
We draw
All three of
straws.
us
All
drive
three.
it. Yeah.
I mean, you have your own factory fives.
Yep. Have my own
It's kind of
factory
cool
five.
when you're taking a class from someone who already built a car or who have built the car hundreds of times. You've got some good tech. I mean, really, when I do a job, if it's the first time, I remember I rebuilt the carburetor for my old Chrysler station wagon. The first time in college, the first time it didn't run for crap. The second time I did it, you'd gone through that learning curve. I did this wrong, and it ran good. You guys give you're giving a guy a chance to build the car before he gets his factory five, so he can push a drill through a piece of aluminum and not have a piece of steel behind it, right? You can make a mistake. Um,
Yep.
what's the advantage of that, and what's the feedback on the class? I mean, at the end of the 3 days, what's your customer satisfaction level?
Well, it's like you said, the second time you do something, it's always a lot easier than the first time, and you get over all the problems that you run into. So if you can beat up our car, that's kind of what we say about our cars. They
It's there to
are
be used.
they're there to be used, and they get scrapped in the end. So if you screw it up, it's not a big deal. It's a lot better than going home and screwing up yours.
That's a good point, because a lot of people say, "Well, what do you do with the class car? I'll buy it." And I'm like, "It's a student car, so basically it's a 4-day class, right? Because the fourth day you have to take it apart and repackage it and all that. I mean, don't you have to take it back
We have
apart?
to take it back apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys do that.
Yep.
All right.
I like telling the students, practice on our car, perfect it on your car.
That's a good way to say it.
That covers the basis of it really well.
Well, from a customer service standpoint, we only get compliments on the school. And I mean that. That's not just, giving you guys false compliments. I think it's also a function of the fact that, you're not paid shills. I mean, I'm not making money off the school. And sometimes I've gone to your classes and I'm like, God, you're kind of being a little hard on me, aren't you? You're like, well, Factory 5 does this terrible over here. Here's what you need to fix. But, you're giving the guy the truth about building the car, right? I mean, you built your own.
They want to know what, and everything on that kit works great. Is there something better on the market? Quite often.
Do you bring your own cars to the class?
We do.
So tell me about your car, and I want to hear about Jim's car. So, because you got some horsepower.
Yeah, mine was one of the very first Mark IIs put out. 3489 is the car number.
Wow.
So I got that car in 2002.
I was going to say 2002, 2003.
2002,
right,
built it, put it on the road 13 months from, it was April 2002 and May 2003 that it was on the road.
Wow.
I've went through a couple of different engines. I have now, I started out with a base 351. Now I have a 351 that's been stroked to 372, running about 14 pounds of boost with a supercharger. So I'm somewhere in the range of 600 horse to the wheels.
Yep.
So
you're
it's
like
a little
the,
monster.
cut your butter with a chainsaw kind of guy.
Yes.
All right,
Yes,
that makes
absolutely.
You're a Michigan boy. I got to tell you,
Absolutely.
the towns and cities and the states around Dearborn, you got Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. This is car centric. I have a small town in Michigan. My wife and I are from. We go on vacation and there's a small car show, 400 cars, and you would not believe the cars are in small town garages around the state of Michigan. Not just like numbers matching perfect Nova SSs. You got all those and Mustangs and Shelbys and all kinds of cars come out. Vintage Corvettes. More horsepower is better. You built your Mark II. when did you get involved in the school? When did you started working and
I
teaching there?
started school about 15 years ago, right around when the Mk4 came into play.
All right.
I was one of the students, or one of the people that showed up with my car on the weekend, on the Saturdays during class.
That's right, because we used to invite customers because we
Oh,
wanted to see different cars. Got it.
Yeah, and I hung around and kind of loitered there, and they had an opening for an instructor and said, "Hey, you want to do it?" And she's like, "Absolutely."
I think that's how I got every job in my whole life.
Yeah,
Started hanging around
just hanging
yeah,
around, yeah,
bike shop
just
and all of a
talking to
sudden
the
you're selling
guys.
bikes. Yeah. Of all the customers, and you've dealt with guys full spectrum of skills, what are some of the most common questions? What are guys, going to the school to kind of find out? What are they worried about? I mean, from my input, you can't do paint. Paint's one of the big questions, but what are the questions that guys bring to the class that they're usually pretty happy when they leave the class with information?
They're really afraid whether they can even do the project at all or not. Wiring is one of the biggest ones. And you have to just talk them through it. The wiring harnesses on these cars now are phenomenal. I like to call it a 50-foot harness. So you throw it at the car from 50 foot. By the time you walk up to it, it's hooked up.
That's a big change because the donor harness used to be.
Donor
You
harnesses.
did a donor harness on your Mark II.
I did not. I started to
do?
take the donor harness out and scrapped it.
Yep.
I got about half an hour out of taking that harness out of that car, and I went, "I'm not putting this
There's
in."
no way. It's too
Nope.
complicated.
And went to an aftermarket harness.
All right. So
But
you were ahead of the
yeah,
curve on the
so
harness side. And now it's plug and
Yep.
play electronic instruments. They match the fuel sending unit. They match all the gauges.
correct. Yeah, everything goes together good. All the plugs match. Most of the plugs match. You might have to put a few on there, but for the most part, they go together real good.
So do you bring your car to every class or most every class or?
Try to bring it to most every class,
not
at least
snowing.
on Saturday. Yeah,
Yeah,
except
right.
for in the winter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it out in the winter.
What about his car? What does Jim drive? What do you got, Jim?
So mine's a Mark III,
Yeah.
and it's a 07 model, and I always get teased because we do the class in 3 days, but it took me almost 3 years to put it together. So it did get
Well,
on
maybe
the
you
road.
were busy teaching people how to build it.
It did get on the road in 2010, so now it's been out there 14 years cruising around.
Wow. How many miles do you guys have on your cars?
I don't have a ton on mine. I'm over 10,000, but
38,000.
Yeah,
38,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not been unusual. Most Fact 5 guys drive their cars.
Most of them are hard miles too.
Yeah.
I don't baby the car. I drive it hard and put it away wet.
That's
I
awesome.
drive it hard.
It was made to be
Yep.
used. I mean, that's kind of what we did. So, what are you making for power? What do you got?
I don't know my power numbers. I mean, I've got a 302 in mine, and but I'm not as crazy as Scott. I'm only pushing about 5 pounds of boost.
Yeah.
With a centrifugal.
So outside of the build school, I mean, Scott, where have you gone? Events, SEMA, London Cobra Show, car shows, cruise-ins, not just with the school, but personally. Like, if you went through your top 10, a lot of guys live vicariously through you guys, and it's like, where have you been that are notable events that the build school or the experience with the Fact Fives have brought you? Where you been?
The SEMA show was
That's huge, right?
absolutely phenomenal.
That's Super Bowl.
That's good. The London Cobra show's excellent event. Also, you can
Love
see
the Mid Ohio driving of it, and they did
Mid
it.
Ohio.
Yep.
That was very good.
It sounds like they're
Those
not going
three.
to do that. It sounds like that might be next year. Might be this year coming up. Might be the last year of the London Cobra Show. It's been 30 years.
Really?
Well, 25, I think. 25. I think they started right about the same time you guys did. What other car shows?
Yeah,
Any local
those
stuff?
are the main ones. The local small ones that I'll
Does
show
the
up
school
at.
go to any shows?
They went to the Back to the Bricks.
Oh, okay. All right.
The Sloan.
Yeah, we've been
The
at
Sloan
Sloan
show.
as part of the
Kinda.
school.
Yeah.
I have build school on my car, and I kind of take it wherever. So I've been to little.
Where's the
shows
farthest
and-
you've been on your cars? You've been just around Midwest? You taking any long trips?
Usually mine in Michigan. Usually
Tail of the Dragon. We
Yeah,
went to.
we did do that.
Yeah, we did Tail of the
You didn't
Dragon.
crash.
Yep.
You
Nope.
leave a
Didn't
piece of
crash.
plastic on a tree?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. We survived it.
Did you just go solo or did you go with a group?
No, we had a group of us that went.
Oh, really?
There was 4 or 5 of us that rented a cabin, and we went down to Gatlinburg and
That's always been on my
cruised
list.
around. That was fun.
Good time.
Got
That
really
was
wet.
great.
Yeah. Oh, was it raining the whole time?
No, just
okay.
one day.
No,
Okay.
the first day we got there, we went out to dinner, and we came out from the restaurant. We looked up into the sky, and it was black. And by the time we got about 50 feet from the parking lot, it downpoured, and you couldn't see the front of the car hardly.
Is he for top?
No top, no top,
Nope.
no wipers on the car currently.
So you just keep driving.
You just
Yeah,
drive,
that's
yeah.
all you can do.
Rain-X on the window. What can you do?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
caught in the rain. You just drive. You shrug your shoulders when people are looking at you, and you
That's
laugh with
awesome.
them.
So where do you think the school's going to go? It looks like, and I don't know if we're tipping our hand here, but anytime we do a developmental car, it's always been one of our things that we have to include you guys in and let you know what we're doing. And we're making so many changes. Sometimes it's really hard to. This is one of the first times we've got a new model coming out that we brought you guys in the early stages of before it's released, before it's in production. You guys are going to get one of the new kits and you can build it. That hasn't been normal. I mean, you guys have kind of been playing catch up on information. And sometimes I hear from you guys stuff that, man, I wish I would have known earlier because you're much more in close contact with customers than we are. You're seeing 12 of them a month, right? Hands on.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are the things you're looking forward to in the next year or two in terms of the school? I mean, just more of the same? Any highlights, any lowlights, things you want to change about the course? Get rid of Renee, that's for sure. She's no good. She's awesome. Renee is awesome.
Yeah.
She's been a great support.
The paperwork end is her end of it, and
So you guys don't have to do any
she can
paperwork.
have it. We don't have to do
Oh,
the
there you go.
paperwork.
So that's good.
She streamlines that part for us. Makes it very nice.
How did the students find out about the school? I mean, we did that TV show.
Yeah, I mean that
Research online.
Yeah,
We
right,
got a
word
link
of
on our
mouth does a
website.
lot. You've got the links on the website. You do the mailings with anybody that's looking for kid information.
Yeah, but I
so-
swear, I don't think a lot of people know about it. I mean, other than our own little community,
Yeah.
and it's still, you put 4,000 people through it. That's amazing. So, Jim, if you look at Scott, how many instructors total do you guys have? Because not just you and Scott. I know Todd was here.
Todd is our
Yep.
third instructor right
Yep.
now, and so he's been instructing with us since 2005 is when he started. So he's been with us almost 20 years too. So
All right, so all those years, what's one of the worst things that happened at the school and one of the best things?
oh geez, worst things. I mean, we've had a few things where the cars had a issue or something
doesn't
like
start,
that.
doesn't run.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we've had computers get fried because somebody hooked a battery up backwards, and I mean, you name it.
I mean, it's real life. You're building the car.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's not staged.
most of the time we've been able to drive it at the end. There's been a couple times where it's been just didn't work, but
So really
the
did
computer
mix
took us out. That one was a bad one.
Yep.
There wasn't any coming back from that, but
You guys, what engines are you using? Because I think last time I was there, you had Blueprint.
the Blueprint's what we're
Yep.
using. So
Yep.
we're using their 302. We use their base motor, which kind of surprises everybody on just the amount of power the car has with their smallest engine that they put out. But we've got that, and then in our
And
hot
you don't
rod,
do
we
body
run the
work,
383
right?
Chevy. We don't
Right?
do the
Okay,
body
yep,
work.
yep, I saw that.
Yeah, we don't do the body work. We show the panel fit up and alignment, and we play around with the doors and mess with all that stuff. But we don't get into the actual paint work and stuff like that. That's something that most people are sending out anyways. If they're not, they probably are experienced in it. So it just
So
doesn't-
tell me the
it's not
cars,
value added
the
to the
cars that you're
school.
teaching, because we did discontinue the 818 class.
Yeah, so now we're doing the hot rod, and we're doing the Mk4 Roadster. I mean, that's the main two classes that we're doing. If somebody wants to do a coupe, then the Roadster's still the closest
Pretty similar to it.
to it. So
Yeah, I think the Gen 3 coupe got us a ways away, but I think we have a way of bringing that back together. But we'll talk about that later. So if you look at the build school and you look at the feedback of customers, any customers that took the school that just were like, you know what, this is over my head. I shouldn't be doing this.
we've had a few, and I'm not sure that's a bad thing because
I think it's a great thing. Yeah.
I mean, it just means that they're going to go out and find one, or find somebody to build it for them, or find one already built. But it saves that person buying it, and it's sitting in the garage, and they're unhappy because they didn't get it done.
And it saves
So-
us an hour a day on the phone with a guy who shouldn't be building a car. So it's a great litmus. I mean, if someone's on the fence and they don't know if they should build a car, they have the skills. It's a great call. I mean, you find out real quick in 3 days whether you're cut from that material or not, right?
You got your hands on every part, and that's
another thing.
That's a big key to them.
You're making the students build the cars.
Oh yeah.
It's not a dog and
We
pony
do
show.
a lot of talking. They do a lot of wrench turning. You can get your hands on the parts, you get familiar with the car and the way the assembly goes together. It's so much easier once you have the manual and you understand
Does everybody get a
everything.
chance to wrench on, or do you get, sometimes just one or two
We'll
guys?
hand
Or
out tools and we try to get everybody involved. Some people want to stand back and just watch. Other people want to be right in the middle of everything. And sometimes we have to tone them down a little bit
right?
and say, yeah, we got to give somebody else a chance to get in here. If you're already familiar with that part of it, step back and let somebody that doesn't know get their hands in there.
And
Well, we've
worst
got.
case,
Yep. I'm sorry.
worst case, we can always have someone we take it apart and put
We'll
it back
take it.
together again.
Yep.
So
Take it
everybody
back apart.
can get in there if they want to.
I love that because is that. I mean, I'm thinking that's why you limit the class to 12 or 15 people, right? I mean,
It is.
too many.
You can have
elbows
too
in the
many
way.
all the way around the car,
Yeah.
and there's not enough room for them to see. When they're double stacked around the car, they can't see anything.
Well, I know that Mark Doherty brought out the high school teachers, all the shop teachers that are doing this. What's Nicole? What's the program with Pius? It's Winter Circle. Yeah. So Winter Circle, they've got 6 high schools now. Every year they keep adding a high school, and these high schools are building cars, and then they're turning around at the end of the semester and they have a competition, and they get graded and judged on the car show, and then I think they raffle off the cars, they sell the cars, but it's been a really successful program. But you're teaching all their teachers,
Yep.
so
Yep.
you're the
Their
teacher of the
teachers come
teachers.
through, so
He's
we
done
show
that
them
3
what to
years
do,
now.
and
That's amazing.
yeah.
I mean, I'm bragging about you guys, but the truth is there isn't another, replica kit car, hot rod, custom car company out there that has anything even close to what we're doing. They all say, yeah, it's easy to build. Well, I'll tell you what, it's easy to build when you show them how to build it. It's not easy to build when you get a shiny brochure and then you get a bunch of parts at home and you're like, what am I supposed to do now? Manual this thick. You guys make it kind of easy.
Well, I can say when I built my car, I didn't know anything about the build school, and it was 13 miles from my house.
Oh, that's a
And
great point. Is we need to
and
bring this message to more
yeah,
people.
I tell them, I say if I would have known about the build school, it would have saved me probably 3 months in the build time.
Absolutely, yeah, because you do it the second time. That learning
You
curve, like we talked
you
about.
put it together, you take it apart, and put the next part on that you should have put on,
All right.
and then so it's saving on the sequencing of everything, putting it in there at the right time.
Well, these guys have been here for 3 days. We're gonna get some lunch and some margaritas and send you on the plane. Go back home. But anything that we didn't cover on the build school or anything personally, I mean, I think you've got just the best location and the best tools and equipment. They always say about every program, there's 3 things. There's the people, we got the best instructors, and you got a great team. And then there's the process, the how to, and you guys got that nailed. And then there's the tools and equipment. And with your new location, your new headquarters, you got the best tools and equipment. It seems like the build school is really, in a good position to grow in the future. We just need to tell more people about it because it sure is a great option if you're thinking about building a Factory 5. Anything we didn't cover?
I think we got it pretty good.
Yeah, Jim?
Yeah.
You guys still put up with each other after all these years?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
joke
have a lot
around
of fun.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
I like to say by the end of the class, usually we sound like an old married couple bickering back and forth with each other.
Yeah, really
and
unattractive
it's
old
all
married
fun.
couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very unattractive. Yeah.
Well, I love you
But,
guys. You guys have done so much good work, and you know how you make your money is just as important as how much money you make, and maybe more so. And I love the fact that the letters I get and the emails and the phone calls are always just like, these guys just taught me everything. It really is a family. Your classes seem to graduate together and they stay in touch with each other. I don't know if you give them emails or whatever, but
Yeah.
these guys are kind of like esprit de corps, like the Marines. Oh, you
Yep.
went to the build school, so did I. When did you go? And they, so you guys are doing a great job. Anything I miss?
Yeah, I mean, we get emails from students where they'll have a whole class list and they'll keep everybody in touch. We got one going now. I don't even know how many
Oh yeah,
emails
that's
long
one
it is
kid
right
after
now.
another
Just keeps
arriving.
adding.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I
awesome.
just got my kid. And
Yeah.
and they got the video on it, and we send out a list at the end of the class with that class alone. Everybody has everybody else's email,
That's awesome.
along with ours. So if they have any other questions after the class is done, they can send us an email
Kind of family.
and we'll answer it.
Yeah.
So
We
you
become
know.
your free tech support.
Yeah.
Trust me, I don't, honestly, between you guys and the forum and the Fact 5 community, I don't think we could run this business without those adjunct tech support. Just on our own, we'd be buried in tech calls and tech, how to build this car. You're building the car from soup to nuts. It's not just doing a bodywork job. You're not just changing an engine. You're doing the whole car, and you guys make it really easy. So, guys, Jim and Scott have so much of our gratitude at Factory 5, They've got a great program. If you're thinking about building your own car, you're crazy not to go to the build school. 3 days, you find out real quick the highs and the lows and everything in between. But guys, on behalf of everybody at Factory 5, Solid Car Guys, Dave Smith out. Thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm Dave Lindsay, and thanks for checking out this episode of Solid Car Guys. This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The opinions shared by the hosts, guests, and participants are their own and do not reflect the views of Factory 5 Racing or any affiliated companies. The content is not professional advice, and any reliance on it is at your own risk. Neither Factory 5 Racing, the host, nor the guests are responsible for any loss, injury, or damages. Always seek professional advice for vehicle builds, safety, and regulations. Racing and modifications carry inherent risks. On behalf of Factory 5 Racing, build and drive responsibly.